All right, friends, it's T-Man. We're back again with another video on JasonBlaha. We're going to react to the gym, lifting, recruiting, fitness gear slave himself, JasonBlaha. So in this video, Blaha says, what is the minimum training volume to make good gains? What kind of gains exactly? What type?
What is the minimum volume that you need to make good gains? Hey, everybody, it's Jason Blaha
Yes,
here.
what is the minimum volume to make good gains? But he doesn't mention what type of gains. What type of gains are you talking about?
I will chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today, but a quick reminder, if you guys will please click like down below, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
If you are not following me or subscribed, please do so, and if you would be kind enough to drop a comment down below, I would also greatly appreciate that. All right, guys, so when it comes to the volumes, you know, I've looked at a lot of stuff over the years, and I've even said in the past, in theory, people could get away with one set a week, but I did just mean novice lifters. And I've run the full gambit. I've run 20 sets, 30 sets, 40 sets a week. I've ran clients at pretty high volumes, up to 20 sets. But if I'm going to be really honest, I agree with some of the coaches who say people can absolutely do.
Look at that. He's going a lot lower here. He's going eccentrically. Almost, just about. And he's not doing a full lockout at the top, so yeah.
Really low volumes and still make gains.
Look at that.
I have plenty of clients who do 6 sets a week.
Very interesting. Look at that.
Who are not novice lifters, late intermediate.
I guess he finally gave in, you know. He figured, yeah, eccentric exercise, that's what builds muscle. Okay.
So early advanced lifters. I'm going to say, look, if you're under 200 pounds and you can squat 400 pounds, we're going to call you, early advanced lifter. So that's what we're talking about.
Early advanced lifter, if you could squat, what, 400 or something? What is he talking about? Whatever. Are you talking about squatting it eccentrically or concentrically? What are you talking about?
So in that context, I have plenty of people who do that. And I've noted over the years, I tend to agree with some of the older research that showed that 5 to 10 sets was pretty optimal for a lot of people, and that a lot of people, when they exceeded that, made less gains. And we
Really? 5 to 10 sets, and they made less gains. Gains? What kind of gains, man? He never really... He doesn't elaborate what type of gains these are.
have a whole, I understand that in the whole evidence-based community, there's a certain circle of researchers that are very vocal that go to the other extreme. But here's the problem with that. One, there were other circles of researchers showing otherwise, and I've just observed myself over the decades as a coach. I'm just going to be frank. I have never seen a drug-free lifter make decent gains on 20 plus sets a week.
I've never seen a drug-free lifter make decent gains on 20 sets or week or whatever. Drug-free. Yeah, people on drugs, I don't know what type of gains they're making. Is it myofibrillar, sarcoplasmic? As far as that person making gains, depends too. Were they eating a lot of carbs? Were they eating protein? Were they trying to build myofibrillars? Or obviously high volume, they're trying to, I don't know what they're trying to do. Fuck, man. Maybe it's sarcoplasmic, dude. So they didn't make any gains. They didn't have enough carbs to make sarcoplasmic, and they didn't damage muscles to go through a remodeling. Okay, whatever.
I've never personally seen it.
Yeah, see, listen to this. So a guy that does 20 sets, right? Natural, like he said, whatever, some natural guy doing this sets and whatever. So he never made any gains, but a guy on drugs made gains, though, doing it. So if natural people can't make gains doing that, that means that's kind of obvious. They're not making myofibrillar growth because they're adapted. So they're not making any gains. So, but the guy on the drugs makes gains off of something that is adapted. So how do muscles keep getting gains taking drugs if you're adapted? The natural people are not making gains, but he says a guy that is taking drugs is making gains doing that. All right. What kind of gains he getting if they're adapted? What kind of gains are the drugs doing? See what I mean? Ask yourself that question.
In 26 years of doing this,
Yeah,
And I could be wrong. There could be some out there. I've just never met them. I've never seen them.
See, there you go. He just answered your question. People that lift full range of motion, they reach, what is it? Newbie gain limit, genetic limit, hard gainer, right? Okay. They continue in that behavior, there's no gains. But then a guy takes drugs and then he starts making gains? Is that it? He's doing the exact same thing, but he's making gains. Why aren't you making gains? Because you're adapted. So the steroid guy is making gains, continuing in the same behavior. And then the steroid guy is going to tell you, you need to lift like this. Exactly what you've already been doing. And you're going to get these gains. You see how retarded that sounds?
I've never worked with them. There could be some unicorns.
Oh, yeah.
So that's my problem when people bring up.
Oh, I love that. He brought it up. Unicorn. Sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. The unicorn. Look. Ha, ha, ha. I got you, Blaha. Hold on a second. Hypertrophy. The unicorn. Look, sarcoplasmic hypertrophy in skeletal muscle. A scientific what? Unicorn. Whoa. NCBI and PubMed, they do them both here. Very interesting what Blaha says here sometimes. Very interesting.
That stuff, and I generally find the opposite. I've taken clients who were completely stalled doing 22, 25 sets of muscle group a week who were making
22 to 25 sets of muscle groups per week. I don't have no clue what he's talking about. I could do 25 sets for one muscle group. For my legs, for example, I could do 25 sets in one workout.
zero progress for months on end.
See, they made zero progress for months on end doing 25 sets, whatever, per whatever, a week or whatever he's talking about. They didn't make any progress because they're adapted. So how does steroids unadapt this thing that is adapted? How does it do that and get you gains? You understand me?
Zero progress.
Yeah, zero.
I took them down to 10 sets and all of a sudden they
Yeah, zero progress. Like Blaha, look at him. He lifts these weights day in and day out in his garage. Do you see any progress? Zero. So what is the point of lifting if there's no progress? Zero.
are making gains. So this affects my opinion of this. And if it was a one-time thing...
Look, man, I only ever lift if I'm going to get gains. If I'm not going to get gains, I'm not going to lift. And I listen to my body. I know if I'm going to get gains or I'm not. I take a lot of time off from the gym because there's no gains there to be made. There's no gains nowhere. So if I do show up, I have an idea in my mind to get gains if I come there. Yeah.
You know, if it was something that only happened once or twice, I could understand, okay, maybe these are flukes. But when you've done it as a coach 10 or more times, get people who are stalled, doing that sort of volume, making zero progress, and you take them down to like 10, and they start making gains, and they make...
Wait. So you take them down to 10, and they start making gains. What kind of gains? None of this makes sense, dude. He's not making gains.
Continuous gains for 6 months straight. After 5 to 6 months of nothing.
Continuous gains for 6 months straight, and then nothing. Okay.
You know, so
here's the thing: if I'm not making gains, that means because I'm doing something wrong. In my training, there's something wrong. So I know that I'm gonna have to start eating a lot more. Yeah, and I have to make sure that I'm going through a remodeling. Number one, my workout routine. I gotta make sure my muscles are gonna go through a remodeling. That's number one. Number two, I have to eat astronomically high amounts of food. And I have to have good sleep. So 3 things. The training, I got to go through a remodeling. Number 2, I got to eat a huge amount of food. Number 3, sleep is very important.
In my observation, I think about 5 sets a week is kind of your minimum for good gains. 5 total sets. Now,
5 sets a week is good for total gains. Total gains doing what? How come he's not getting any gains? He's just making this stuff up. He's making it up.
what am I counting as 5 sets? Well, what I'm going to count as 5 sets.
Do you people understand? He's fabricating this stuff. He's making it up. You can only talk about things of your own experience. Maybe he's talking from experience because he's not making gains. That's what he's telling you. I don't know. But he's definitely not making gains, even reducing it, or whatever the hell he's talking about here. He's fabricating that.
You're only counting maybe half sets from a big movement, right? So maybe at least 3 of that is direct, and probably.
I mean, look at Blaha. Does he look like he's made any gains in the last 3 years or 4 years or any years? Does he look like he's made ever any gains? Look at him carefully. No, 0. He's made 0 gains. I don't know what the hell he's exercising for here. Why is he lifting? Why? Torturing himself. For what reason? Maybe it's mental illness.
At least some other.
Look, there's a lot of people like this online. They suffer from mental illness. They can't stop exercising themselves to death. 0 gains. 0. You have to have a goal. But do these people have goals? Christ.
Exercises that are half sets. So example of what I would consider, let's say you're doing pull-ups and rows.
Okay.
Right? Do 3 sets of pull-ups, 3 sets of rows. Yeah, that's 6 sets for your
I mean,
lats.
look at him. Look at him. He's just like throwing this weight up and down. Isometric, concentric. You think that's doing anything to the shoulders? Like anything? A 0. 0. He's shrinking. Look at his arms. He's getting smaller. He's suffering from sarcopenia. Haha.
Towards biceps, maybe. I think you could probably count towards maybe half sets, or you can count half of it, and then 3 sets of curls. Okay, yeah, that's going to be about 5 or 6 sets equivalent for all those muscles, right? For lats, possibly for rear delts. Definitely biceps.
God, in the last 10 years, Blaha has aged so much in the last 10 years. He looks like he's aged like, I don't know, 25 years, bro. He looks like he's aged 25 years. It's crazy. In 10 years, he's aged 25 years. That's insane.
So that's what I mean by that sort of volume. Okay, that's what I mean. I find that works.
Yeah, okay.
Or if we want to think about 5 direct sets, so let's just take that out of the equation and say, okay, you're doing rows, right? Let's say you're doing 5 sets of rows a week. You don't count it towards biceps and 5 sets of curls. Okay. I think if you're in that territory, I think you can still make good gains if you're training really, really hard. Okay, the same thing, 5 sets of total chest presses a week, and then 5 sets of triceps. Okay, yeah, I think we're good there. I personally, for a lot of things these days, really just do 3 sets twice a week for some muscle groups, 3 to 4 sets. So it's a little more than the 5. And here's been my experience.
Okay. Here comes his experience.
I find that about that 5 to 6 set mark, I find most lifters can make really good progress there. Now, what we could argue about is it optimal progress?
Okay.
Maybe not. Is it good progress? Yes. Is it consistent progress? And I think for a lot of guys, that's the problem when it comes to these sort of discussions on these volumes. They're like, well,
high volume training is associated with sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, providing you eat enough carbohydrates. That's what it's associated with. Yeah.
if I'm doing something over here and I'm making.
And why is that? What's the reason behind it? Because you're adapted. There's no damage, there's no myofibrillar growth, so it's sarcoplasmic. Because high volume training, you're coming in often.
Zero gains. Well, this isn't what we're talking about. You're not going to see zero gains at these volumes if you're training hard enough. You shouldn't. Okay? So that's the first thing, usually when I get guys who are like, I'm not making gains, should I add more volume? And it's like, no, that's adding volume should never, unless you're at a below that threshold. Like if you're doing 1 set a week, I get, okay, yeah, you should probably be increasing volume. You should probably be doing 3 or 5. 1 set a week, yeah, that's not going to get it done. But it's this idea that guys have that they're doing enough volume and they're not seeing progress, or like, should I add more volume? No one has ever said that to my knowledge.
Volume, they should put in more volume. Bruh, man, that's not going to build muscle, but that's not going to damage it either. But that's not going to build the sarcoplasm. You're going to have to eat more carbs to build it.
Even the ultra high volume researchers are not saying that. Let me be clear. All those researchers, to my knowledge, all admit, the research.
You're going to have to eat a hell of a lot more carbohydrates to build that sarcoplasm. That's why it's not building.
Shows people can make decent gains on 5 sets. They all agree on that. Even non.
Yeah, you can make decent fake gains on that. Yes, you could. Yes.
Office lifters, people who are a little more advanced, they can make decent progress. All they're claiming is that the 20 sets or 30 sets will be more. Not that you go from 0 to making gains. So let me be clear, unless you're at rock bottom volumes, ridiculously low, you're never in a situation then to where your volume is the reason you're not making gains. Your diet sucks, your sleep sucks, your training.
Well, yeah, I kind of mentioned that. And your training what?
Intensity sucks.
Your training intensity sucks. Well, what you're training for sucks because it's either sarcoplasmic training or myofibrillar. And the majority of people going to the gym, they don't even know what they're training for, man. They just think something's building there. They don't know what, though.
Maybe your exercise selection sucks, your execution. Something else is wrong. It's not your volume. Because if you're doing like 5 sets a week and you're not making any gains, there's something else happening. Your diet's not sufficient, your sleep isn't sufficient, or you were just training like a pussy. Okay? And I usually tell most people 10 to 12 for the majority of people is the cutoff. I find most lifters, unless their recovery is super dialed in, going past 10 to 12 sets a week, they usually make less gains, in my experience as a coach.
Yeah, okay. That made no sense, but whatever. That made absolutely no sense. Yeah, man. Sarcoplasmic gains are really based on the amount of food you're eating, carbohydrates. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao, friends. That was ridiculous.